The Biden administration announced today that it's suspending the implementation and enforcement of its unconstitutional vaccine mandate for private sector employers.
It's going to cost more to drive home for Thanksgiving, more to put the turkey on the table, more to buy gifts for the kids.
The Build Back Better bill is passed.
Several people believe that the bill is actually going to make inflation worse.
I have instructed that no one from MSNBC News will be permitted in this building.
We have got a lot for you today. Some good news, the Biden vaccine mandate is effectively dead. The bad news is the House passed the Turn Us Into Venezuela bill. Is Kamala Harris out as vice president? We'll look into that. Also, the Rittenhouse case. If anything happens there, we'll keep you up to date as it happens in real time. MSNBC banned from the courtroom. So much stuff to get to. All that and more coming up. This is Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from a dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world. My name is Jobob. Today is November 19th, the year of our Lord 2021. This is Daily Caller Live, and holy cow, this is a jam-packed freaking Friday. We want to start off right off the top with the Biden vaccine mandates. Just to keep you up to date, too, we're going to bring any updates from the Kyle Rittenhouse case. If the jury comes back and stops deliberating and has a verdict, we'll bring that to you live, so stay tuned. Also, the House passed the Build Back Venezuela bill, and that's going to be a huge problem. And then we're going to get really deep into the whole idea, is Kamala Harris out as vice president? All of that stuff and more coming up in just a couple seconds. So first, I want to get to this thing. This is really interesting. The Biden mandate is effectively dead. If you don't remember, September 9th, Joe Biden said that we're going to institute mandates on any company that has over 100 employees, and we're going to force them to take the COVID shot. And everyone's like, whoa, that's not cool. Then he waited 2 months to do anything about it. Finally, 2 weeks ago, they said January 4th is going to be the day. That's going to be the day. Then it got struck down by the courts in a temporary filing. Now it's more permanently struck down by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Yesterday, OSHA came out and said, all right, we're completely backing off. We're not doing this anymore. We're going to wait for further review. That is what's happening with the Biden vaccine mandate. This is from CNBC. The Biden administration has suspended enforcement of its vaccine and testing requirements for private businesses after federal appeals courts halted the rules pending review. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, in a statement on their website said the agency has suspended activities related to the implementation and enforcement of the requirements pending further developments in litigation. At the beginning of the show, you saw a clip that from the Daily Wire where they're saying it's done. It is effectively done. Now, could there be appeals that the administration puts in place to try and make this thing actually happen? Yes, it can, but it would probably directly go against the Constitution, as it probably already does. Everybody who's been a critic of this has been saying this is unconstitutional. Absolutely, they shouldn't be able to do this. And OSHA, of all places, is the people in charge. Remember, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the fact that OSHA doesn't have the manpower or woman power to control any of this. They're going to depend on whistleblowers within companies to tell on their employers. How do you think that's going to go? Not good. It would be how I would see it. The U.S. Court of Appeals in the Fifth Circuit ordered OSHA last week to take no steps to implement or enforce the mandate until further court review. So that's that. There's not really much of the story there because there's so much that we have to get to. I really, really want to move on. But basically, the Biden vaccine mandate that he's trying to implement on private businesses with over 100 employees is effectively dead. We'll bring you up to date if anything else happens on that in the future, but I'm hoping that this is gone. It is dead. We don't have to worry about it anymore. On to the bad news. If you haven't already, I know there's quite a few people watching this, but we gotta click the share button. Click the share button, click the like button, whatever the emoji thing is. I would probably click the angry button because this is ridiculous. The good news today was the Biden vaccine mandate is effectively dead. The bad news is the House of Representatives just passed the Turn America into Venezuela Biden socialist spending plan. And I call it the socialist spending plan because the entire thing is a bunch of unnecessary nonsense that is only going to make America more of a socialist, dependent on the government country. And we've all seen how those countries work out. See Venezuela, see France even. Just completely obliterates the Americans' drive to do better and just makes everybody dependent on the government. But that bill today passed. They were trying to pass it yesterday. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, went on an 8.5-hour speech on the floor to move it to today. Could he get it? Could he actually stop it? Probably not. But every single Democrat turned out to vote for it. Now, here's a couple of the flaws in this thing that people are already talking about. Moderate Democrats were waiting for the CBO report, the Congressional Budget Office, to come in to tell them, this is what it's actually going to cost. The Biden administration was pitching this as $1.5 trillion. No, turns out it's $2.4 trillion effing dollars that we don't have and don't need to spend. On top of that, I don't know if you've seen prices around the country lately, but inflation is at a 30-year high. So what does the Biden administration want to do now? Put more money into it. And not only that, they're lying about, maybe it's on purpose, maybe it's just because they don't know what they're talking about, but they're lying about how much it actually costs. The CBO again reporting that it's probably going to cost $2.4 trillion that we don't have and don't need to spend. This is like you're just coming out of a massive health crisis for you personally. You spent all of your money, you have no money left, and now you're buying a Lamborghini. What is that going to do to your debt and your credit score? Nothing good. I know you don't like hearing from her, and I don't like hearing her talk either, but the Wicked Witch of the West this morning was able to usher in a yay vote for this bill. Here's this, and then I want to play a clip from George Stephanopoulos when he was talking to Kamala Harris, which, holy cow, if you have the time, stick around for the Kamala Harris piece, because that is fascinating. But check this out. Here's Speaker Pelosi.
On this vote, the yeas are 220, the nays are 213. The Build Back Better bill is passed.
Boo. So every single Democrat turned out to vote for it, and no Republicans did. House Democrats on Friday approved their sweeping measure to make the country a more socialist nation. I possibly editorialized this piece just a little bit from the Los Angeles Times. And begin to respond to the climate crisis. And they say a sorely needed show of progress in Biden's negative press that he's been getting. Joe Biden's polls have been in the freaking toilet. And this, I guess, is somewhat positive for him, even though it's going to ruin the country. Now, we have a glimmer of hope. We'll get to that glimmer of hope in just a quick second. The bill passed 220 to 213 with support from all but one Democrat and no Republicans. Their attempt to pass the bill Thursday night was foiled by Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy of Bakersfield, California. Shout out California. Well, conservatives in California holding it down, trying to move the needle back in the woke progressive blue state of California. But he gave an 8.5-hour speech on the floor to try and stall this thing in the morning, because Democrats, like they generally do, were trying to pass this thing in the dead of night. In the middle of the night, they're going to pass this turn us into Venezuela, make us a more socialist country bill, so hopefully nobody sees it or pays attention to it. Again, could Kevin McCarthy stop it? Unfortunately, no. But what he did do is speak for so freaking long without having to go to the bathroom, by the way. That's just impressive to begin with, that he made them vote on it in actual daylight. Again, Nancy Pelosi, the Wicked Witch of the West, continues to constantly pass bills in the dead of night when nobody's awake and nobody's paying attention. Kevin McCarthy, if he did anything, he made them pass it during the day. So there's that. The CBO report says this thing is going to cost $2.4 trillion, much, much, much higher than the original Biden estimation. Oh, it's only going to be 1.5. No. Another $1 trillion extra dollars. Do you know how much $1 trillion is? I think it's like if 1 trillion days ago, humans weren't even walking the earth. That's how much $1 trillion is. It's either that or it's like 1 trillion years ago, the planet wasn't even existent. $1 trillion is a lot of money is what I'm trying to get at. And the Biden administration underestimated by $1 trillion, according to the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. And here's the thing. Well, let me play this clip from George Stephanopoulos while he's talking to the very, very lowly rated Kamala Harris. And again, I want to tease this again. Stick around for the Kamala Harris thing. I think she's out. I think she's going to go. I think the Biden administration is trying to get rid of her. Holy cow. If you can, stick around. But listen to what George Stephanopoulos says. And this is our glimmer of hope that I hope we have.
But as you know, several people, including Senator Manchin, who could be the key vote on Build Back Better, believe that the bill is actually going to make inflation worse. That's why they're holding back.
Yeah, that is why people are holding back from this spend more money thing. Here's a question. In the comment section, let me know, what are prices doing where you live? Gas nationwide is up an average 61% year over year. I drove by a place yesterday. I live in California where things are exponentially higher to us, unfortunately. But I drove by a gas station that was $5.25 last night. $5.25 to fill up your gas tank. That is absolutely ridiculous. What are gas prices like where you are? And now Democrats and the president are trying to put more money into the system. Joe Biden last week, we had this clip and we played it to death. Joe Biden said, you know what's ironic about this is from my bill, people have more money. And when people have more money, they buy things more and the demand goes down and prices go up. So it's a little bit ironic, isn't it? He admitted that putting more money into the system causes inflation. And what's his solution? Well, let's go ahead and put more money into the system. Dude, how and what and why? I don't understand it. Nobody quite understands it, but hopefully our glimmer of hope are people like Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Senator of West Virginia, because this bill has to pass the Senate. Senator from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, and Senator Kristen Sinema from Arizona hopefully can understand how inflation works. Again, every single economist out there that was saying that inflation is just transitory, this is a temporary effect, this isn't going to stick around, is now saying, oh, this is real inflation and it's going to be tough. I don't know what we're supposed to do when inflation hits and inflation hits hard. I would say take your savings and put it in some sort of asset because hopefully that will stave it off. Look, if you have a retirement account with $100,000 in it, or if you have $1 million in your retirement account, the government just took 6.3%. And by the government, I mean the fact that the government is allowing inflation like this to happen. Inflation just stole $6,000 if you have $100,000 in the bank. If you have $10,000 in the bank, they just stole $600. If you have $1 million, they just stole $60,000. That is how bad inflation is, and it's only going to get worse if this Build Back Venezuela bill actually passes in the Senate. So fingers crossed. Hold the line, Joe Manchin. Hold the line, Kristen Sinema. We can't afford this. And also, when you hear your Bernie Sanders friends say, this is all being held up by two senators, just two people are holding up the dreams of the American people. No, that's not the case. 52 people are holding it up, and a minority of senators want it. Bernie Sanders, that is not how things work here in the United States of America. A minority of people want this, and a majority of people understand that it's going to effing suck. So that's what's actually holding up. So when you see Bernie Sanders on the talk shows, and I would imagine he's going to go on ABC this week, he's going to go on Meet the Press probably this weekend, and say, look, I'm going to play this clip Friday. I guarantee you Bernie Sanders is going to be on the Sunday talk show saying, two people are going to hold up the American progress. No, it's not two people holding it up. It's going to be 52 people because the majority of senators understand how bad this will be for America. I want to move on to this. This is our big story of the day, if you want to call it that. But first, let me get to some of these comments, see if we can read any of these. Wow, a lot of people talking gas prices. 93 octane, $3.79. I'm not sure where that person lives. I'm not sure where Brian lives. But Carol's $3.06. Holy cow, Charlie, $4.25 for premium. Mickey also shared this. We're going to get into this. Kamala is currently the president right now. President Joe Biden is underneath anesthesia at the moment for a routine colonoscopy. I'm assuming he'll be fine. But Kamala Harris, there was a big headline in the New York Times like, Kamala Harris is the first female to take presidential power. Who cares? I don't care. Nobody should care. But that is happening currently. Tyler says, I live in Placerville. It's $4.85. That is ridiculous. Anyways, I want to get to this. Let's start talking about this whole thing. Is Kamala Harris out as vice president? Now, there's a lot of people that talk about Joe Biden being senile and he doesn't have the ability to maintain the office. Here's the thing, regardless of how much you don't like Joe Biden, and I disagree with Joe Biden on pretty much everything, I'm glad he's still putzing around the Oval Office and Kamala Harris isn't in that seat. Because Kamala Harris is an absolute crazy person. I live in California. I've been dealing with Senator Kamala Harris, Lieutenant Governor Kamala Harris, Attorney General Kamala Harris. She wasn't Lieutenant Governor. Attorney General Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has been in my life for way too long, and I want it to stop. But she's a terrible politician and even an even worse policymaker. If you don't know this, Kamala Harris is polling right now. Currently, she sits at a 28% approval rating. As the vice president, question number one, how does that even happen? The vice president is the easiest gig in the entire planet. How in the world do you have a 28% approval rating? A quarter of Americans think you're doing a good job. You're not supposed to be doing anything as the vice president. Joe Biden skated through the vice presidency with rave reviews. You know why? Because all he did was walk around in his aviator sunglasses and finger guns at people and maybe kiss some kids a little bit too close. But Joe Biden had great polling numbers when he was the vice president because you know what? The vice president isn't supposed to do anything. So the fact that Kamala Harris has a 28% approval rating is honestly hilarious, and it just shows how terrible of a politician she is. This was a tweet. So first things first, there's been a lot of rumblings around DC, around the White House, around Congress that Kamala Harris is not really getting along with the Biden administration. She's butting heads with Joe Biden. Now, if you remember, when Joe Biden was the vice president, Obama made Joe Biden kick out all of his people, and he was required to hire a staff of Obama people. I don't know why he did that. Maybe because he didn't want a competing interest in the vice presidency. That's exactly what Joe Biden did to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris does not have her people that rose up through Attorney General of California into the Senate of California and into the vice presidency. All of those people are gone. So they're talking bad about the Biden administration because they wanted to be in that office of the vice presidency. Kamala Harris, of course, is butting heads with the president a lot, and everybody has been taking notice. So much so, the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tweeted something super weird late this last weekend. So late on Sunday night, at like 11 o'clock on Sunday night, Jen Psaki tweeted this very weird endorsement of Kamala Harris. She said, for anyone who needs to hear it, Vice President Kamala Harris is not only a vital partner to POTUS, but also a bold leader who has taken on key important challenges facing the country, from voting rights to addressing the root cause of migration to expanding broadband. Here's the thing. People originally saw that as the White House is, okay, the White House is backing Kamala Harris. They think she's doing an okay job. They're backing her. But here's the thing. If you were going to try and get rid of somebody in your own party because they're a terrible candidate, they're a terrible politician, they're polling at 28%, they're butting heads with you at every turn and every corner, if you were going to get rid of that person, you would do a sort of backhanded endorsement in which you would say, they're doing a great job and they are crucial in these elements, and then list off elements that she's terribly failing at. If they were trying to actually endorse her, they wouldn't bring up the border, which is just absolutely crazy, and they wouldn't bring up the whole voting rights thing, because in Democrats' minds, Democrats have failed across the board in terms of voting. Again, I think it's great. I think you should have an ID to vote. I think you should make sure that voting integrity is still a thing. Democrats don't believe that, but in their mind, they're highlighting issues that they think she's failed at because she has, and disguising it as an endorsement. So that was weird at the beginning of the week. Then this happened on Monday, when they were talking about the Build Back Venezuela bill and also signing the infrastructure bill that was 20% infrastructure. This is a weird thing. This isn't indicative of anything. It's just weird, and Kamala showcases her tried and true laugh that everyone freaking hates. Watch this.
Please welcome Heather Kurtenbach.
In a moment.
Now, that's something that you might think that was just a mistake. Mistakes like that don't happen. And again, maybe you say this is a conspiracy. Kamala Harris is totally fine. Maybe. But also, this stuff is getting really weird. Kamala Harris then yesterday went on ABC with George Stephanopoulos and got hit pretty dang hard. So now we start to get into the meat of different things. Again, she's a bad politician. She's butting heads with the president. Her approval rating is in the freaking toilet. Then she goes on ABC this week and gets dominated by George Stephanopoulos, who, I don't know if you know this, ran Bill Clinton's campaign, meaning he's a Democrat. He is on her team and beat her up for this 6-minute interview that they had. Watch this initial clip from George Stephanopoulos.
You know that as Americans are feeling pretty sour about the economy as we head into the holidays, it's going to cost more to drive home for Thanksgiving, more to put the turkey on the table, more to buy gifts for the kids at Christmas. What can you do about these high prices? How long is it going to take?
Well, first of all, it's real and it's rough. Groceries, the cost of groceries has gone up. The cost of gas has gone up.
So there's George Stephanopoulos at the very onset going, hey, you guys have screwed up inflation. Prices are higher. Gas is higher. Gifts for kids this Christmas are going to be higher. Turkey is going to be more expensive. Everything is more expensive. And Kamala goes, did you watch her face? She goes, oh shoot. Yeah, everything is priced higher. Again, doesn't answer it well. She's not a good politician. And George Stephanopoulos beating her up on that. Then she goes on to say this. Actually, before I say this, I want to get in this piece. Jesse Waters on Fox News, if you didn't see this, on Wednesday, I believe, had a congressional reporter on his show. And that congressional reporter said, hey, you should brush up on the congressional rules regarding confirming a vice president. Remember, the vice president is not elected. They are hired. Effectively, they're hired by the president and by Congress. In order to replace a vice president, you need to pass them through Congress. And a Fox reporter was getting news and information from his contacts in Congress. Hey, maybe you should brush up on this ruling here so that you know what you're talking about if something were to happen. So there's that. Then George Stephanopoulos pressures her on the border, and listen to what she says. Again, she's just a bad politician. This is going to make you angry. If you haven't already, you got to share this because I know people need to see this sort of stuff, but also I would hit the little angry emoji button because I don't know. This makes me furious. But again, this is proof Kamala Harris is just a bad politician, and I don't know that the Biden administration wants her in the seat that she's in, given how bad she is at everything.
8 months ago, the president gave you the job of addressing the root causes of migration. But last month, we learned that in the past year had the highest number of illegal border crossings since they started to be recorded in 1960. What are you doing to turn that around? How long will it take?
Well, it's not going to be overnight. We can't just flip a switch and make it better.
You can, though.
The reality is that we inherited a system, an immigration system that was deeply broken, and it's requiring us to actually put it back together in terms of creating a fair process that is effective and efficient.
So that's Kamala Harris saying that, well, no, we inherited a border crisis. No, you didn't. That is literally the opposite of the truth. A little bit better political skills there and trying to avoid and not answer the question. But Kamala Harris saying that, well, you can't just fix this overnight. But you can. You can fix it overnight. And you guys are choosing specifically not to do that. And I'm not entirely sure why. You caused the problem overnight. You could pretty easily fix it. What they did, if you don't remember, the day Biden came into office, he signed an executive order that got rid of Trump's stay in Mexico policy. Guess what? The floodgates open. I don't know if you've been watching the news, but George Stephanopoulos, again, Democrat host of a major media outlet, said that we've seen the highest border crossings ever since we've been keeping track of this in the 60s. More people are coming across now than there ever have been. This is coming from a Democrat. And Kamala Harris says, oh, we can't just stop it overnight. No, but you can. You actually can do that. You can enforce the border policy that the United States already has. We already have border policy. And you can bolster security. Maybe a wall of sorts. Maybe that would help in some situations because there's a lot of places where people can just walk across the border and then they turn themselves in as refugees. Look, she says that we can't solve this overnight. No, you can solve it overnight. You're just choosing not to. The Biden administration, Kamala Harris included, decided to have a border problem, and they're getting exactly what they sowed with their executive orders immediately when they came into office. 200,000 people a month are crossing the border into the United States, and what is happening to them? Not to mention too, so Kamala Harris also, right now, just a kind of fun tidbit, she has the presidential power. If you know this, Joe Biden is under anesthesia with a colonoscopy, and Kamala Harris is currently holding presidential power. So that's also kind of an interesting thing. But we'll see how this plays out over the next couple of weeks. But for all of the reasons I just listed, and if you're just joining us, you need to go back and listen and watch. I don't know if you can go back now, but once we're done airing, you need to go back on Facebook, YouTube, wherever we're streaming this, and check this out, because I do think there's a pretty good argument to be made that Kamala Harris is on her way out. The 2024 presidential election is going to be one of the most interesting that I think we've ever seen. There's no stability whatsoever. Everybody, the sitting president almost always runs for re-election. Joe Biden is not going to run for re-election. He's saying he is, but he's going to be 79 in a couple weeks. Actually, I think next week is his birthday. He's not running for president in 2024. And usually if the president isn't running, the vice president naturally takes that seat and generally gets the nomination from the party. But since the 50s, that's happened. Since the 50s, the vice president of a president that is either outgoing or retiring gets the nomination for the presidency. But Kamala Harris, Democrats don't like her. Remember when she was running for president, she had 3% of the vote among Democrats, and she dropped out of the race before Iowa. She's polling at 28% approval rating. Nobody likes her, and she's a terrible candidate. So there's Democrats with their claws out, making sure they can take out Kamala Harris when she decides to run. Somebody's going to need to offer her something to get her to not run, do it gracefully, if they are trying to do what is in their own best interest. But again, this is really interesting on the Democratic side coming into 2024. On the Republican side, they're just as scrambling. Nobody knows if Donald Trump is going to run. And how do you run as a Republican? Do you run pro-Trump? Do you run anti-Trump? Nobody actually knows what's going to be the best way to do things. There's a lot of people, I've talked to people in the Trump camp, they're saying that he's running. That solves that problem for Republicans, I think. But if he doesn't, it's going to get crazy and weird. So 2024 is going to be super interesting, to say the least. I want to get to this. This is moving on to the Rittenhouse trial. Again, if anything comes of the Rittenhouse trial, I'm constantly checking the Twitter feed to make sure that the verdict isn't in which case we will go to the Rittenhouse case live. But there's nothing currently right now. It says jury deliberations move into the fourth day in the Rittenhouse homicide trial. It's getting a little weird how long this has happened, how long this is taking. But you know, hopefully, I'm honestly hoping they don't come in today, because I don't think we want an entire weekend of people rioting around the country, because people like MSNBC have led them astray and led them down the wrong path, completely and utterly lying to them constantly during this case. This is a clip from MSNBC that I've played the last 2 days. So this is the third day we're playing this clip, but I think it's super important. This clip blew up on Instagram last night. If you don't follow me already, just JOBOB on Instagram. I'm hilarious. All of the stuff that I post is fantastic. You need to follow it. But this clip blew up, so I want to play it again really quick. This is MSNBC. Protesters outside of the Kenosha County Courthouse admitted to a national reporter on MSNBC that they are trying to push and pressure the jury and the court. Listen to this. I know you might have heard it before if you've already been listening to this. Holy cow, you need to click the share button. I would click the angry button if I were you, or the what button if I were you. It helps us reach more people. I really appreciate you doing that. But listen to this. This is crazy. And then we'll talk about how the fact that MSNBC got banned from the trial. But watch this.
The people who were protesting against what Rittenhouse did, do they think that he will be convicted just when they were talking to you?
Frankly, they don't. And part of this is pushing that. They think that they want to push and pressure the jury or pressure the court to hold Kyle Rittenhouse accountable in their words.
Holy cow. Again, I've said this the last couple of days. That is crazy illegal. I think I remember George Floyd's brother also saying we need to be taking pictures of these jurors so that we know where they live. That's insanely illegal. And here's the question that I have. Are any of these people going to be prosecuted for doing this? They're admitting to national correspondents. Now, they're admitting to national correspondents that they're trying to push and pressure the jury. Did that MSNBC correspondent go to the cops and say, hey, those people, this is their intention. That is exactly what they're trying to do. I don't think so. Is anybody going to be prosecuted for this? Probably not. But an interesting thing happened yesterday. The incident happened Wednesday night, and then yesterday, the judge took it into his own hands to ban MSNBC from any further proceedings in the courthouse. Why did he do that? Because it turns out that there was an MSNBC producer tailing the bus full of jurors after the trial. When they went home for the day on Wednesday evening, there was a journalist, a producer who identified himself as working for MSNBC, tailing the bus of jurors. This is, again, coming from the same network that has protesters admitting to them that they're trying to push and pressure the jury. This is what the judge had to say about that. I chopped it up as best I can because it's a little bit long, but listen to this. This is insane. This is a crazy thing to do. This is a crazy time that we're living in, that this is even a thing that people are considering. I think the punishment for jury tampering needs to be 15 years minimum. Make an example of somebody who would have the audacity to do this sort of thing, because it is absolutely ridiculous. Listen to this.
Last evening, a person who identified himself as James G. Morrison and who claimed that he was a producer with NBC News for MSNBC and under the supervision of a person, Irene Bayan in New York, for MSNBC. The police, when they stopped him because he was following at a distance of about a block and went through a red light, pulled him over and inquired of him what was going on, and he gave that information and stated that he had been instructed by Ms. Bayan in New York to follow the jury bus. The matter is under further investigation at this point, and the media has asked questions about it. That's the latest I have. And he was ticketed for violating a traffic control signal. He's not here today, from what I'm told. I have instructed that no one from MSNBC News will be permitted in this building for the duration of this trial. Very serious matter, and I don't know what the ultimate truth of it is, but absolutely that's someone who is following the jury bus. That is it's extremely serious matter, and will be referred to the proper authorities for further action.
So we got a couple comments here that are kind of interesting. CJ says he ran a stop sign to keep up with the bus. That's actually how he got pulled over. And then he admitted he worked for MSNBC and that he was following the jury bus. Dan says what I think, and this is unfortunate, but I think it's true. Dan says true, but nothing will ever happen to them. Yeah, that is absolutely ridiculous. That this is going on, and people from MSNBC are doing what it is that they're doing. Evelyn says this is completely and utterly shameful. Can't help but agree with that. A lot of people saying there's a lot of hate for MSNBC, and rightfully so. They have been lying to people constantly. Remember, we had a tweet from what's his name, Scott Adams of Dilbert fame, where he was saying, "Look, this is exactly how you turn a verdict, an acquittal, into a riot. This is exactly what MSNBC and CNN and all of these networks that are continually lying to their viewers are trying to." I don't know if they're trying to do it, but that's what they're doing. They're going to make people riot in the streets because they're being completely and utterly misinformed. Thank God there are 500 National Guardsmen sitting outside of the Kenosha County Courthouse to quell any sort of rioting that happened last year. Remember the rioting last year? Burned down the downtown business district in Kenosha. Again, absolutely ridiculous. Checking again, once again, to see if there's any updates on the Rittenhouse case. There doesn't seem to be. So we'll leave that there. And again, if anything comes of it, we will bring it to you live as it happens. I want to go back to this. We mentioned this at the very beginning, and I think a lot of people are coming on and off of this. Again, I know people watch this. They come on, they come off. So if you just tuning in, this is a win for freedom. This is just a win for freedom. The Biden vaccine mandate is effectively dead. We're not going to spend too long on this, but the Biden administration has suspended the enforcement of its vaccine and testing requirements for private businesses after a federal court of appeal upheld the rules pending review. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, in a statement on its website said the agency has suspended activities related to the implementation and enforcement of the requirements. The U.S. Court of Appeals Fifth Circuit ordered OSHA last week to take no further steps in implementing and enforcing the mandate until further court order. So that's effectively dead, and this is good news. Tara looks like she says good news. Let me see if there's anything else. That's it. So, look, here's what we like to do, especially on a Friday. We want to end the week on a brighter note. And I think this was probably the most funny thing that happened all week. Do you know what the TV show You is? It's a show on Netflix. The show You on Netflix is one of the biggest shows in America. My wife and I watch it. It's getting a little weird. Season 3 is odd. It's increasingly unbelievable in terms of the storyline, but I won't spoil anything for you if you do like to watch that. But this is a modern day Abbott and Costello, and I think it's good that we can poke fun at our own side when things are funny at our own side. This is Laura Ingraham, who apparently had not heard about the show You, and when being told about wokeness in the show You, she thinks it's about her show. This is, again, a hilarious exchange. If you haven't seen this already, we're trying to end the week on a brighter note, because holy cow, things have gotten dreary. I guess the positive news that the vaccine mandate is effectively dead, but it's a dreary week, and it continues to be under the Brandon administration. But we'll end it on a positive note. Listen to this. This is hilarious. This is a modern day Abbott and Costello routine. Whether or not they were doing it on purpose, I have no idea. But it appears that Laura Ingraham does not know what the show You is, and it's kind of funny.
To the politics and all those woke storylines in so many shows today. You know, I was watching an episode of You where measles came up.
Wait. When did I mention measles?
I don't know. It was on You.
Wait, what was on me? What are you talking about? Right? Is Raymond even hearing what I'm saying? I never had the measles.
Was on You.
We never did a measles and vaccine episode. Is this a joke?
I know.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It was on You. It was on You.
I've never had measles. What are you talking about? This is stupid.
It was an episode of a show, Laura.
What's it called?
You.
What is he talking about?
It's called You.
I've never done a show on measles. I just completely give up. We got to get out of
It's a show
I give up.
called You on Netflix.
There's a show called Laura Ingraham on Netflix. What are you
Never
talking
mind.
about?
I'm moving on to Adele. I can't explain this to you.
What's he
The
talking
pop
about?
singer had an open.
Somebody commented and say this is on purpose. I think that might have been pretty scripted too, but it was funny. Evelyn says, "Who's on first?" Yeah, this is a modern day Abbott and Costello happening on Fox News. Tara says, "Gold." I think it was a scripted thing. I'm not sure if they're admitting that, but that was pretty funny. You know what? We need to laugh a little bit. Need to have a little bit of a lighthearted take on some things. That's going to do it for us today. If you haven't already, go follow me on Instagram. We're taking some interesting polls on the Instagram account. You can go to @Jobob on Instagram. Find me pretty quickly. Just Jobob. Yeah, that's my real name. Thank my parents. Jobob. You can find me anywhere. I've got this poll up on Instagram that's actually really interesting. It basically says inflation is at 6.3%, a 30-year high. Prices are exploding, including an annual 61% increase on gas. Inflation is caused by too much money in the system. Congress is hoping to, this was posted last night, but passed an additional $2.4 trillion into the system on Friday. Will this make things better or worse? You can go to my Instagram page and take that poll for yourself. It kind of helps us figure out where things are in the country. And the numbers are actually pretty interesting, especially given my following that I've got. So if you haven't already, go to Jobob on Instagram. Give me a quick follow for ridiculousness and hard-hitting news. And you can take this poll to see whether or not you think that the Congress putting in $2.4 trillion more is going to make inflation better or worse. Would really appreciate that. Also, you can get all of my hilarious t-shirts on any of those social media accounts. This is my Joe Biden what t-shirt. the Joe Biden catchphrase that he's known for saying all the time. You can get that at my Instagram shop or on Facebook. Coming up later today, we're also going to be doing a weekly recap show on my Facebook page at The Jobob Show. So be sure to tune in for that. I think that's around 1:30. Just kind of a weekly wrap up of what's going on. If you're going to watch anything, you could just watch the weekly wrap up. That's it'll give you all the news that you needed to know and missed on the week. Really quick before we get off, I think we should look at some comments really quick. Oh, this is interesting from Tom. He says regarding the Laura Ingraham not knowing about you piece, he says, I think it was legit. I'd never heard of it either. Not you. You. It's funny. Appreciate that, Tom. So, yeah. If you get a chance, go and take the poll on my Instagram account. Would appreciate a follow. We've got great videos, great clips from the show there. That's the best place you can see them. We'll be right back on Monday morning, and we'll be doing 3 days. Actually, I'm considering doing a show on Thanksgiving because I think nobody else is doing shows, so maybe we should. We're considering doing it. But we'll see you next week. Right back here. Maybe we'll have some Rittenhouse updates, but stay tuned to the Daily Caller. I know they're going to take it live if, in fact, the jury comes to a conclusion today, whether it's Monday. They're going to take it live, so make sure you come on and watch that when it does happen. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much, all of you, for watching. If you haven't already and you're still watching, if you haven't, click the share button, click the like button or the emoji button. That helps us get to more people because I think more people need to see what we're saying. More people need, especially if you've got liberal friends, which I have quite a few, and I think it's great for them to see this sort of stuff. So click the share button, click the like button. Other than that, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. God bless America.